Welcome in our MOOC course, Modern Indian Writings in English Translation. Today we are going to discuss about the short story written by Gurdayal Singh named A Season of No Return, translated by Rana Nair. Gurdayal Singh, born in 1933 and demised in 2016, was a monumental figure in Punjabi literature. Renowned for revolutionizing the Punjabi novel by shifting its focus from the upper elite class to the marginalized people. Born in Bhaini Fateh, Punjab, into a family of modest means, he initially worked as a carpenter and then as a blacksmith before pursuing education and becoming a professor. This background deeply informed his writing, allowing him to articulate the lived experience of the subaltern class with unmatched authenticity. He rose to international prominence with his masterpiece Marhi Da Deva, written in 1964, which is often cited as a landmark in Indian realism for its poignant portrayal of the intersection of class and caste. Singh's narratives are characterized by Dalit existentialism, exploring the psychological displacement of the characters caught in the transition from the traditional life to the modern society. His prose is stark, avoiding romanticism, to instead highlight the hopelessness and cyclical struggles of the rural poor. For his immense contribution, he was honored with Sahitya Academy Award and India's highest literary honor, Gyanpith Award, in 2000. Through stories like A Season of No Return, Singh remains a definitive voice in mapping the human cost of the social and economic progress. Gurdayal Singh's short story, A Season of No Return, translated by Rana Nair, is found in the collection titled Earthy Tones. This anthology of Gurdayal Singh's stories, translated into English, showcases the themes of cultural memory and the tension between soil and space. Book title Earthy Tones, translated stories, translator Rana Nair, and author is Gurdayal Singh. In a very famous article written by Rana Nair, titled Gurdayal Singh, a Storyteller Extraordinaire, I quote, "As I sit down to reflect on the range and quality of Gurdayal Singh's fiction, Plato's famous dictum inevitably comes to mind. In his Republic, Plato is believed to have stated that he looked upon a carpenter as a far better, a far more superior artist than the poet or the painter. For Plato, the carpenter had come to embody the image of a complete artist, or rather that of a total man. After all, wasn't he the one who imbued the formless with a sense of structure and form, and infused the rugged material reality with untold creative possibilities? By all accounts, Gurdayal Singh answers the Platonic description of a complete artist rather well. Born to a carpenter father who insisted that his young son too should step into his shoes, Gurdayal Singh chose to become instead a carpenter of words, a sculptor of human forms, and a painter of life in all its hues. On being refused funding by his parents for education, beyond high school, he decided to be his own mentor. Slowly, toiling his way up from an elementary to a high school teacher, from there to a college lecturer, and finally a professor at a regional center of Punjabi University. His is a saga of courage, a profile in patience and gritty determination, which reads more like a work of fiction in progress. As one of the most illustrious exponents of Punjabi language and culture, he has served its cause for well over 4 decades now. This is a statement by Rana Nair on Gurdayal Singh. With this, we move into the story of a season of no return. Early in the morning, the daughter-in-law enters the room holding a cup of tea, and she repeats her words, Maji Pranam, it's 6 o'clock. Please have your tea. She places the cup on the mat near the pillow and leaves immediately, dragging her chappals as she walks away. She does not check if Corey is awake. Though Corey has been lying since before dawn. For nearly a week, Corey has not experienced sound sleep. Corey picks up a tumbler of water, goes to the bathroom to wash her face, and uses the small towel by the daughter-in-law left on the peg. After wiping her face, she returns to the room, drinks the tea in small gulps, and lies down again. About 20 minutes later, Corey sits up in her manji again. At exactly 6:30, her son Santok enters the room, carrying his son Kaka in his lap. He greets her mother saying, Maji Sat Sri Akal, and hands the child over to her. This moment brings joy to her heart, and seeing the innocent smile on Kaka's face makes her feel as if a weight has been lifted from her. She begins to converse with the child in a childish manner and invokes blessing on him. She reaches for a basket of toys on the closet and pulls out a rattle to shake for him. Despite Corey's efforts, Kaka becomes impatient whenever he hears the tip-tap of his mother's chappal moving between the kitchen and the bathroom. He looks towards the door and flails his arms and legs. Breaking into whimpers, he looks up at Corey's wrinkled face. Corey notices his woe being gone look and tries to calm him by rocking him in her arms. With this, while talking to the child, Corey repeatedly glances towards the kitchen and the bathroom. Her daughter-in-law turned to the sound of footsteps. At this moment, a strange dread could be seen lurking in her eyes. Suddenly, a wave of nausea sweeps over Corey, and she calls out, Santok, my son. Santok responds from the bathroom, I am coming, Maji. He soon enters, dressed in a white kurta pajama. Seeing Kaka, he jokes, Oh, naughty one, you are up to mischief again. Corey clarifies she called for a different reason, saying, No, son, I called you out so that. Before Corey could end, Santok understand her meaning. And before completing her sentence, he rushes out saying, All right, I will get the medicine. Just then, Corey suffers an insistent bout of coughing. Santok returns quickly with a glass of water. He places the glass on the mat and takes a sarso-colored tablet from a strip and hands it to his mother. As she puts the tablet in her mouth, he offers her the glass to help her to swallow the tablet. Once she has taken the medicine, he takes the glass back, picks up the wrapper and whistles to make Kaka smile. At exactly 7:35, Kaka's mummy, the daughter-in-law in the story, enters the room with wet hair spread over her shoulders. Her lips blossoms into a smile almost like the petals of a rose, inviting Kaka to smile back. She hands a bottle of milk to Corey and repeats the sentence that she is repeating for nearly a year. Please, Maji, give Kaka his feed. For the first time in 3 months, Corey does not respond with her usual warmth or say, Give it to me, child. She quietly takes the feeder and puts it to Kaka's mouth. The child sucks without protest, and the daughter-in-law leaves with utmost satisfaction. By 8:15, Santok and his wife are ready to leave. Santok walks past the mother's room and says, All right, Maji, we will make a move now. He goes to the veranda, takes out his scooter and kicks it to start. Both husband and wife sit on the scooter. Corey comes to the veranda and silently looks on them. Corey stands on the veranda for a while, wondering about her Gujarati neighbor who usually comes out when the scooter leaves. Suddenly, the neighbor appears and calls out from her own veranda in Hindi, Behenji, why don't you come over? Are you feeling all right? The neighbor then screams at her own son, Bittu, my son, what are you up to? Oh, Bittu, why don't you come to me? Something crosses Corey's mind and she decides not to respond. When Corey returns inside, Kaka has begun to doze off. She places him on the bed and pats him until he falls asleep. She goes towards the kitchen but feels restive. A huge pile of unwashed dishes lies under the tap, and the maid is not due for some time. Corey cannot touch the dishes because the son and the daughter-in-law have strictly insisted her, Maji, you must never do such things. Corey picks up her plate containing paratha and curd and returns to her room. As she attempts to eat, the very first morsel got stuck in her throat. She manages to finish half the paratha with great difficulty. She covers the remaining food with a large plate and places it on the mat. A sudden pain stabs her back and she lies down near Kaka's feet. She stares at the roof for some time as her mind begins to drift along wayward currents. It has been almost a year since Corey has arrived. She came primarily to help her daughter-in-law through her pregnancy. However, this was also an excuse to see how attached this daughter-in-law was to her. That Santok had married her against his parents' will. The relatives had made a big issue of the marriage, making it difficult for Kauri to show any kind of affection to them. When Santokh visited the village after his marriage of 1 year, no one spoke to him straightly. Kauri reflects that one cannot separate the flesh from the nails. Santokh's Bapu had spoken sarcastically to him and telling him that I could always go to the Gurudwara and eat at the langar. However, Santokh's younger brother Gyana was pleased with the situation. Gyana, who always had affection for Santokh, declared that Bapu will never talk straight and urged Santokh to take their mother along. Kauri had accompanied Santokh reluctantly. Her visions of a foreign land thousands of miles away was shattered upon arrival. For the first few days, the strange land appeared to be a paradise. The daughter-in-law, condemned by others as low caste, was always ready to do everything and anything for Kauri. She constantly addressed Kauri as Maji, Maji. Even during her delivery at the hospital, the daughter-in-law ensured Kauri faced no inconvenience. On one night of the delivery, Kauri had insisted on staying at the hospital, saying, I will go and lie down somewhere in the veranda. But the daughter-in-law refused to relent. She repeatedly told Santokh to take his mother home and avoid any kind of inconvenience. With this, the story takes a shift. Every Sunday, Kauri visited the Gurudwara and met other Punjabi women in the park outside. She established a rapport with the women of her age from Jalandhar. Kauri would share her joys and sorrows with her. Like Kauri, this woman had come to stay with her son and daughter-in-law too. The woman tried to encourage Kauri to speak ill about her daughter-in-law, but Kauri never spoke even a word. When the woman failed to get Kauri to complain, she began to view Kauri as the blessed one and became envious of her. Often Kauri wanted to criticize her own daughter-in-law just to satisfy the other woman's ego, but she could not find any problem to mention. Both her son and daughter-in-law were well-placed professionals, and the son was an engineer as the wife was a college teacher. They lived in a government quarter that was as good as a bungalow. Everything needed was available in the house. In the very first week, the daughter-in-law had identified all of Kauri's needs, so Kauri never had to ask for anything. She was served everything whatever she wants. In the past 2 months, Kauri had asked Santokh several times, Kaka, please take me back to the village. Each time he asked what she would do there. He explained that he wrote to Gyana monthly, who reported that their father was fine and that Kauri should stay along as she wishes. He asked if she was inconvenienced, and Kauri had to admit that she wasn't, except for her occasional restlessness and desire to wing her way back to the village. Kauri's nostalgia grew into an obsession, leading to dream of her village at night. She dreamt of the open courtyard and the children, and Gyana's son Melu and daughter Karmi. In the dream, their hands were dripping off with cow dung as they ran around the manger. Corrie would rant at them in her sleep. Why don't you stop it now? What kind of a game is it? Occasionally, Corrie would wake up blubbering from these dreams, drenched in perspiration. She would glance towards her son's room and sit up reciting Vaheguru, Vaheguru in the darkness. She felt upset that the current location never got unbearably hot in summer to make her crave for cold water, nor cold enough in the winter to need a fire. She had asked Santok why the season remained the same. She laughed at the thing, and Santok replied that this is because the place is near the sea. Santok explained that the season remained consistent due to the proximity of the sea. Corrie was surprised that there was a connection between the sea and the seasons. Now everything seemed strange to her, like the brown stumps of a tree. She no longer liked the sameness of her daughter-in-law's sweet words. The sound of the daughter-in-law's chappals reminded her of her younger daughter-in-law, Gyana's wife. Corrie recalled Gyana's wife calling her dung cake-like face, short stature, stolid body, and feet soiled in earth. She remembered her loud, robust voice threatening to teach the children a lesson. She visualized the children cowering behind the kulcha. She could hear Gyana's wife's soft voice as she carried cow dungs saying, "Nay, babyji, just be careful. Don't let them come after me." Lost in its thoughts, Corrie would break into spontaneous laughter and then suppress it and stare at the doors. Corrie walks around in daze until the maid arrives, which brings her some relief. Recently, the maid has not been in her usual frame of mind, working in slipshod manner. She rarely discusses her family matters and rushes through her work. However, when the maid breaks into conversation while sweeping or washing, Corrie finds it difficult to tune into her gibberish but nods and repeats, all right, all right. This interaction brings a sudden feeling of peace to Corrie. Corrie wants to help the maid so they can sit and talk. But the daughter-in-law has forbidden the maid from letting Corrie work. The maid screeches in Hindi, "Maji, why do you want to deprive me of my livelihood?" when Corrie tries to help. Initially disliking her, Corrie now sympathizes with her problems. The maid has 5 children and a husband who work as a coolie, but squanders his earnings on himself. The maid must earn to provide for her children. After the maid leaves, Kaka wakes up. Corrie gives him his feed, and while he plays, she heats her food. After eating, she realizes Kaka is late for his bath. She gives him a hurried bath, changes his clothes, and washes the old ones. Outside, the children from Gujarati, Bengali, and Madrasi families are playing. Corrie initially likes the commotion but soon becomes impatient with it. Walking inside, she feels soaked in sweat and realizes she hasn't bathed. Although she wants a bath, she cannot mustered enough strength to walk up to the bathroom. Just then she hears an auto rickshaw and her daughter-in-law walks in with her purse. The daughter-in-law flashes her customary smile and says, Maji Pranam. She glances at Kaka and asks the same old question. Did he have his milk properly? When Corey says yes, the daughter-in-law rushes to the bathroom. Coming out, she looks at Corey with surprise and asks, Didn't you have your bath today? You haven't even combed your hair. Go and have your bath. How hot it is. Corey is momentarily baffled as to how her daughter-in-law knew that she hadn't bathed. She feels reassured in a strange way. She considers giving a befitting report that she has no intention of bathing but decides to hold her counsel. She walks to the bathroom while the darling daughter-in-law busies herself making tea. At 5:30, Santokh returns with 2 or 3 friends. After greeting Corey with Sat Sri Akal, they go into the living room. Corey hears pealing laughter and the tip-tapping of her daughter-in-law's chappal serving them. The noise feels like the neighbor's son firing shots with his air gun, making Corey restless again. At 6:15, the group marches out for an evening stroll or a film. Corey asks no question. The daughter-in-law mentions where they are going while picking up Kaka. But the constant buzz in Corey's ears prevents her from hearing anything. The roar of the scooters starting at once make her heart jump into her mouth. Once the sound subsides, the emptiness of the house wraps around her. The next morning, having not slept a wink, Corey's hands tremble as she reaches for the cup of tea. The cup falls and breaks into pieces. Santokh rushes in and is crippled by anxiety upon seeing Corey not feeling well. Santokh supports her shoulders and asks, Maji, why don't you lie down? Seeing her body is feverish. Lying down, Corey says, Son, I am feeling uneasy. Santokh gets her a tablet and water, and the daughter-in-law helps her sit up to swallow it. After an hour, Corey feels better. Her attention is drawn to her son's room, where Santokh is speaking in quotes, anxious but soft tones. Pricking her ears, she hears him say, What is the way out now? Even I can see the problem it will create, but we will manage a maid. Hearing this, Corey feels her head swimming again, and giggled sweeps over her. That day, Santokh takes leave from work. He drops his wife at college and returns with a doctor. The doctor examines Corey and tells Santokh there is absolutely nothing to worry about. By the afternoon, Corey feels somewhat settled and starts playing with Kaka. Santokh goes out for 2 hours and returns, speaking softly, Maji, I have got your seat booked. It's on a train leaving on next Saturday night. One of our engineers is going to Punjab. He will leave you right up to the village. Corey is stunned. After a while, she says, "Son, it's up to you. If you are finding it difficult, I won't mind staying a little longer." Santok replies, "No, it's all right. Now Kaka is grown up enough. We will manage somehow." Until the next Saturday, the atmosphere in the house appears sad to Corey. The daughter in law speaks in a sweeter voice than before, and Corey responds affectionately. Santok sits with her and cracks jokes, but everything feels like there was something strange and unfamiliar. This feeling of estrangement ends on Saturday night at 17 minutes past 2. Santok sees his mother off with his friend. As he returns home, he suddenly feels so cold that his teeth start chattering. He looks at the sky and sees no clouds. He wonders, then how could it be so cold? Upon reaching home, Santok joins two blankets and pulls them over himself. After a long time, warmth seeps into his body and he feels a sudden lightness of being. His thoughts race back to his mother, but a sudden tide of sleep washes over him. With this, the story of A Season of No Return ends. In our next class, we will discuss about the poignant themes that has been showcased in the story by Gurdayal Singh.